bring in the litigants. According to the statement of claim, the plaintiff, Joan Mirvish, is an elderly lady who has served as a volunteer for Scouts Canada since 1982. Is that correct, Miss Mirvish?
Well, I don't know about elderly.
Spare me the snark. Now, she headed a scout troop and worked closely with children aged 7 to 12 prior to her becoming a troop leader. Joan was battling a drug addiction and went to rehab to solve her problems. The defendant, Lisa Pinto, allegedly invaded her privacy by means of the Internet. Pinto found out about the rehab, and Mirvish lost her volunteer position. I'd like to start by hearing the plaintiff's side of the story.
Your Honor, it is important to stress that my client is no longer the same person who was once addicted to drugs. She understood the gravity of her problem and enlisted in a rehabilitation program. That program changed her as a person, and she was keen to leave her tormented past behind her. She wanted to keep the information about her past safe and private. She enjoyed her job as a scout troop leader, but Lisa Pinto ruined the only thing that made her life worth living. Personal privacy was severely invaded, and this invasion of rights has led to much torment for her. As a result, my client is requesting $12,000 in damages. She also hopes to be reinstated as a troop leader for Scouts Canada.
That's a pretty hefty sum.
Your Honor, if I may, well, I was recently diagnosed with cancer, and I haven't got much time, but this private information got out. My life's been ruined. I want to spend my last moments serving scouting, and now I can't do that. It was the only thing I enjoyed.
Very well. I call upon the defendant's lawyer to explain her situation.
Thank you. Your Honor, my client, Lisa Pinto, was simply looking out for the best interest of her child. She did not perform an in-depth Internet background check on the plaintiff, but only to find out the truth about the scouter. Moreover, Ontario law does not even have an invasion of privacy tort. This fact is clearly stated in the precedent case of Somewhere versus McDonald's. My client knew this and did not feel that she was doing anything wrong by checking up on Mirvish.
I need to interject. I discovered my son smoking. I thought he picked up the habit at Scout.
Objection! Irrelevant to the matter at hand.
Mrs. Pinto, we can get into this later. I'd like to move on to questioning. We'll start with the plaintiff.
Thank you. Miss Mirvish, what led you to believe that the defendant invaded your privacy?
It's simple, really. I had stayed late after a scout meeting. I needed to clean up the kitchen. After finishing up, I went out into the parking lot to see a group of parents huddled around the car. They seemed angry and were talking loudly. The person at the center of the commotion was Lisa Pinto. She was talking about my history in the rehab center. When another parent asked how she knew, Lisa told her that she'd invaded my privacy by performing the check.
How did the defendant use the information that she found to shed you in a false light?
They were acting as if I was a current drug addict. Pinto used that information to completely twist the truth. I am not a bad person, and I no longer do drugs. The rehab saved me. It is no indication of a kind of scout leader I am.
Your Honor, the facts are clear. My client's story proves that invasion of privacy occurred. And as to the defendant lawyer's claim that there is no tort in Ontario for invasion of privacy, that same case, Somewhere versus McDonald's, goes on to say that cases such as these can fall under negligence, and that the civil law system acknowledges the seriousness of invading one's privacy. The Charter can serve as an example to us. Rights such as these cannot be infringed, and they were. According to Somewhere versus McDonald's, we must establish, predominantly, that the information was made public and shed the plaintiff in a false light. Clearly, she was shed in a false light.
Thank you. I call the defending party to stand for direct examination.
I'll dive right into this. How did the reality that there was no invasion of privacy tort in Ontario impact your actions?
The fact impacted it a ton. I had no idea that I was doing anything wrong by protecting my child. Believing that the search was legal was the only reason I went through with it. I thought of it as a criminal record check, and I'm glad I did it, to be honest, because now I know the truth.
What were your intentions when you met with the other parents in the parking lot?
Definitely not to spread falsehoods. I wanted to make sure that my friends were informed. I wasn't shedding Joan in false light at all. I spoke the truth. She had been in rehab. I was being vigilant. I am a hero for doing this. I just wish I'd found out about this before my son picked up her habits and started smoking.
Your Honor, I believe that it's clear that this cannot constitute an invasion of privacy. Even if there is a tort for this, my client did not shed the plaintiff in false light. Lisa Pinto also so clearly explained there was no twisting of anything, just the presentation infinity towards charter law. This is a civil law. The charter only applies to governments, and that is a reason. This is a simple dispute. My client did not intend to ruin someone's life. The invasion of privacy did not cause that. The invasion of privacy was a legal internet search that promoted the safety of Boy Scouts in a vulnerable neighborhood.
Well, I think the facts are clear. We can proceed with cross-examination. Lawyer for the plaintiff?
I do not wish to question the other party.
Nor do I.
Very well. I'll now hear closing statements. Thank you. My life was ruined because my private affairs were broached upon. I spent the last 25 years of my life running from a horrendous history, and I have changed as a person. I haven't turned to drugs since rehab. Pinto admits that she performed the internet check without my permission, and regardless of her intentions, this private information has shed me in a false light. Or I never would have lost my position with Scouts Canada. All I want is to live out my life happily, but these rumors could never let me do that, so I demanded financial compensation. It's only fair. Mrs. Pinto?
There's nothing illegal about an in-depth internet search. The information was there for me to find. Maybe the plaintiff should be suing the rehabilitation program that let this info out, but I did nothing wrong. There is no tort that can apply in this situation. The case is gone. I spread the truth around so that children would be protected. I don't owe Joan anything. She owes me the costs of these trial proceedings.
It's time for a ruling. I spent long hours contemplating what to do, but I must look at the precedent cases that relate to this issue. In all fairness, many cases established that there were no invasion of privacy torts. These include the Fillmore case and many others, such as Haskett v. TransUnion of Canada. Yes, Fillmore makes it clear that the charter law set an example for us here in the civil sector, but it does not apply. Moreover, I must agree that Lisa Pinto did nothing wrong in performing the search. That type of information could have just easily been stumbled upon. I rule in favor of the defendant. Court dismissed.